The following is a special presentation of the First Horizon Green Sports Zone. This is the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Stephen Gregg Show. Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Stephen Gregg Show, where we cover everything on the court with the South Greene Lady Rebels basketball team. We'll recap the past 4 games with Happy Valley, Johnson County, West Greene, and North Greene, and we'll look ahead as the Lady Rebels finish the regular season with Crockett and Chucky Doak. But first, we need to get a pair of commercials in first, so stick with us. We'll be right after this short break here on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone. The Gary's Paint and Body Shop Stephen Gregg Show is brought to you by Gateway Ford Nissan, Tommy's Plumbing, Gary's Paint and Body Shop, and by First Horizon Bank.
Twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Stephen Gregg Show, where we cover everything on the court with the South Greene Lady Rebels basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with Lady Rebels head coach Stephen Gregg. Coach, how's it going?
Going well. Good to have you again.
Good to be here. It's been forever since we've sat down. It's been, I think, exactly 14, no, maybe longer than that, since we've sat down for an interview. We got the snow that I think nobody expected. We expected a lot, but I don't think everybody expected this much snow.
Yeah.
And then I think it was cool you mentioned that these kids had never seen a snow this big, so they definitely got that snow too.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about just the unbelievable amounts of snow we got. How much did you get at your house?
Between 12 and 13 inches.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I live over in the West Greene side, and I got 11 and a half. Some of my friends only got close to 8 or 9. And then out here in the South Greene area, y'all got over a foot of snow. So it's crazy just the diverse amounts throughout the county. But yeah, to have a foot of snow, that's not equivalent to the blizzard of 93, but the great snow of 26 might be the most that I ever see in my lifetime. But I can only imagine how much snow there was in 93. But it was a weird time because you didn't have school, we didn't have coaches shows, you didn't know if you were going to have games, kept moving things around, moving times, moving dates, but got everything in. Let's jump back to before that, though, when you played Happy Valley. We just talked about it before we started the recording. It feels like ages ago that you went up to Elizabethton and picked up a win over the Lady Warriors, 56-38. How did you like how you played that night?
I felt like we came out and moved the ball pretty good, and we made the difference with our defense that night. Also, that was the beginning of that 4-game stretch where we hadn't been shooting the 3-ball real good. I think over that 4-game stretch, you keep saying that's going to get better, it's going to get better, but we were 11 of 77 over this little stretch, and it did get a little bit better, though, the last couple games that we've had, but you just hope that you start making them when they matter the most. But I felt like we came out up there and really got after it on the defensive side. And then you talked about a little bit about, missing for practice and the weather and everything. And the worst part about all that was you never knew who you were prepping for. Because you go in here and you practice, you almost have to prepare for like 2 or 3 people. And fortunately, though, a couple of them kind of employed the same kind of defenses, so it wasn't real strenuous on us. But just the anticipation and not knowing which one that you're preparing for. You got a whole slate of games, and
hours before a game, you still don't know if you're playing it.
And that was the frustrating part. And then, being out, but, not making it mandatory, so kids, you didn't want to put them at danger of getting in here. So legs are gone, shots, are not as consistent. So I think sometimes you have to deal with that. But hopefully we can get more consistency moving forward right before tournament time.
And you go into a tough road game at Johnson County. I think that's when the snow really hit. You play Thursday night at Happy Valley. Friday, the snow hits. You get 8 days between games at Johnson County, and you suffer a 64-53 loss on the road. Take me through that road trip up to Johnson County. Was there a lot of rust? Did the tough environment up there at Johnson County play a factor? Take me through that whole entire night up there in Mountain City.
I felt like the girls were prepared to play. It was for first place for us. If we'd have won that game, we wouldn't have to worry about the last one and then one we got to prepare for tomorrow. But we didn't fare very well. We came out and I wanted to go with a quicker lineup, so I adjusted my lineup a little bit because one of their best players doesn't start. And I thought, well, we're on the road. Let's go with a quicker defensive unit and just get after them early. Well, the exact opposite of that happened. We were behind. I think, if I remember right, they hit their first 5 threes, and we were down 25-12 first quarter. And that was hard on the girls mentally. The long road trip and then getting kind of shell shocked early. Defensive closeouts were not there. We were leaving wide open people. The shooters had open shots, and it just was not the storm that you wanted to weather, in a big atmospheric game like that. And I tried to, rally the troops and tell them, we got to chip away in the second quarter, and they're not going to shoot it that great the whole game. And for whatever reason, we even lost by more in the second quarter. So we're down, 20-some points at half. I want to say 24, 23, somewhere like that. And, now we were able to really get in front of them and challenge them a little bit better. And we came out and we played with a lot of intensity that second half, and it got heated. And we cut it down to 11 and had a good look in the corner and got called for a flop charge. And, Ari gets completely run through, and she's one of our better free throw shooters. So in the heat of the moment, you're thinking, she's going to go to the line, now we're going to cut it to 8. We've already chipped away, 15 points into this lead. But, the referee called a flop, and, I kind of lost my composure. And I was a little bit not myself, but, you go to battle for your team and your girls, and I felt like that was the call that really changed our comeback and really affected the game. So I don't find any fault in my girls' effort the second half, but daggone the intensity that they came out with, they were more purposed that game. I guess they knew what they had to do because they were still fighting for first or second right with us. Their next game was Unicoi, and Unicoi beat them.
I think after winning that game, the way everything had been shaken up with schedules, they actually took first place because they had a 7-2 record and you had a 6-2 record. So by that, they would have that one win. So yeah, that was a big game because that made a transition between first place between each team.
And we already knew the preseason draw that Johnson County would be the one if that were to happen, and we were to have equal records. So thankfully, Unicoi was able to take care of them, but we just didn't get up for that game, and we're still having the shooting woes. But I'll say our defense wasn't there that first half. But like I said, I kind of showed my hind end, and got a technical during that run, and maybe that helped, maybe it didn't. But I don't second guess going to take up for my girls. Now, the way I handled it maybe wasn't the best way, but, competition brings out the worst in everybody. And that was not one of my finer moments, but at the end of the day, I'm still fighting for my kids. And I just would have liked to have gotten an explanation from the referee before things kind of turned, and I got teed up for that. But, it happens, and hopefully we can learn from that game and not have the bad starts, because it's kind of been plaguing us here lately. We had another bad start the other night, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But I do feel like if we would have brought that energy, we wouldn't have to worry about the West Greene or the Chucky Dope game.
And then you go into that West Greene game, and it seems like you responded well. You get a 49-29 win over West Greene. That was cut short due to a terrible accident on the court. And we need to mention that too, because Erica Davis for West Greene suffers an injury with, I think, 1:54 left in the fourth. And still thinking about her and her safety and her health and hoping that she makes a full recovery. But you never like to see a game end like that, but you do get out of there with a win over West Greene, which was a must-win against West Greene to keep the hopes of having that 1 seed. So take me through that West Greene game.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't prepared for their big inside game not to play with Joey being hurt. So that kind of hurt some of the things that they do on the defensive side. But, I can't go without bragging on some of the individual performances our kids had. And, I think up at Johnson County, Sam had 14 rebounds, from my point guard. It's the most rebounds I felt like we've had in a game this year. And that's just a testament of her grittiness that she wanted to bring. When the game got heated up, seemed like that was the kind of game she wanted to play in. But speaking on Sam, she took the assignment of guarding Peyton Norton for West Greene, who had been putting up really huge numbers lately. And we went through the first quarter, and she didn't even allow her a shot. And so she paid great attention to game detail on guarding her, and I wanted to reward her and put somebody else on her the second quarter. And we did that, and Trinity came in, was doing a good job. And I look up 3 or 4 trips later, Samantha's back on her again. And I said, I was fussing at Trinity, and she said, well, Coach, she wanted her. So, when kids get that mindset, you roll with it. And Sam really D'd her up,
Still finished the shot of the night with one shot?
One shot.
One shot attempt. Wow.
And, people wouldn't have believed that, but Sam was really on that night. And, I tell the girls, defense is a mindset. You don't have bad defensive nights. You can have bad shooting nights, but you can't overplay, have too much defense. And so I'm glad she's buying into that. And, we've got some defensive specialists that play in spurts, but I feel like we're not really tapping in and getting everybody's best effort on the defensive side of the ball. And that was evident up at Johnson County.
And then moving into Tuesday night with North Greene, you get halfway through this loaded week with West Greene, North Greene, Crockett, and Chucky Doak, and you play North Greene on Tuesday night. Doesn't go your way. You suffer a 60-46 loss. So take me through that one with the Lady Huskies.
Yeah, I mean, before that, we've had Nevaeh and Ari finally making a few shots behind the arc. The West Greene game, I think we hit 6 or 7 threes. So that was a good sign, other than 11 for 77 that we've been slumping in. But North Greene, once again, we fell behind early. Didn't pay great attention to game detail. Traylon had a tremendous first half against us. She got in there and was able to keep people behind her, and that was not part of our game plan. We wanted to front her, and next thing you know, we're down 9-3, and never really did get back in the game much after that. They made some shots, and it was just kind of a weird game. I was trying to get some defensive adjustment calls out when their point guard, or not the point guard, when Ella kind of went out right before half, their senior, I thought, we can maybe speed it up a little bit. And, you're getting your defensive signals in, you expect the whole unit to know it. And we were talking about it in practice the next day, only 1 or 2 of them knew. So they were thinking we're in a different defense, and then I'm thinking we're going to fall back to something else. And it was a cluster in that stretch. And then moving into the second half, Traylon goes to the bench, and that changes the game too. And we change from more of a man that's trying to get to a different type of zone look. And same thing, well, Coach, we thought we were in this, and 2 girls thought they were in this. So we've got to do a better job at communication. And I always tell my kids, if one person on the floor knows, all 5 need to know. Even the ones on the bench. It used to be the point where I would look to sub somebody in, and I would ask them to go get such and such But then I'd look at them and say, hey, what defense are we in? And if they don't have a clue, I'll say, sit back down. Then I go to the next person in line, ask them the same question. So everybody has to be engaged because we never really know our true rotation right now. We've got a set 5 that we start, but it could change in 2 trips, or somebody can come in and get streaky and knock a few shots down and then stay in the game a little longer. But everybody has to be mentally engaged moving forward and know when the game changes. And that's an area we got to improve on.
Halfway through the week now, you've got Crockett tonight, then you travel to Chucky Doak to round out the week and the regular season on Friday. Senior night tonight. Before we talk about it too much and get into those festivities, of course, we need to get a commercial break in first. So join us right after this break. We'll talk about both of those games here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
For over 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has proudly served the Tri-Cities with a personal touch because we're not just plumbers, we're family. From simple faucet repairs to full plumbing repiping, we have the experience and expertise to get the job done right. We also specialize in water heater and tankless water heater installations, helping you find the perfect solution for your home. Our technicians stand behind their work and always leave your space clean and spotless. Looking for a plumber who's fast, professional, and reliable? Call Tommy's Plumbing and let our family take care of yours.
At many dealerships, you get what you'd expect: games, gimmicks, and shady sales tactics. At Gateway Nissan in Greenville, expect the unexpected: low prices, convenient service, and a great buying experience.
Get our Gateway exclusive lifetime powertrain warranty.
No worries for life.
You deserve the unexpected. It's the #1 reason you gotta get to Gateway.
Shop online at GatewayNissanGreenville.com.
Or take the super short drive down Highway 11E to Gateway Nissan in Greenville.
Welcome back to First Horizons Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Stephen Gregg Show, where we cover everything on the court with South Greene Lady Rebels basketball team. As always, joined here with Lady Rebels head coach Stephen Gregg. So you got 2 games left in the regular season. It's crazy we're already at this time here at the very end, but you have Crockett tonight at home on senior night. First and foremost, let's talk about that. Tipping off in a few hours. What can we expect from the Lady Pioneers coming here?
They did beat us earlier in the year. It was one of our early games, and you got certain games on the schedule that you hope you get to see again the second time through, and that one's kind of been on our radar. I felt like we shot it very, very poorly up there and lost a close ball game. Here it sounds like every time I talk, it's negative shooting, but that can be fixed if we get people going to the gym and see different results. You know, if you want different results, you got to do things differently. And we've been begging the kids to get in there and shoot more. And, hopefully they'll start making more time to get in there. But, not to harp on it, we just lost to North Greene and we shot 15 of 55 in our own gym. And reverting back to that game, you had reminded me of the amount of threes that we took. You lose a close ball game, and you reminded me it was 13 of 44 from three-point line. And we shot 44 threes. and hopefully we can mix it up and shoot more mid-range shots and crash the glass better. But we were settling, shooting way too many threes first of the year, and we've tried to hone in on our game and work some zone offense kind of stuff, triggering the ball in the middle and the short corners and baselines. So you lose a game by 3 and you shoot 44 threes, and you said that Crockett shot 48 shots for the game. Make a few shots, we'll probably win that one. So, I'm just hoping our kids can win on their senior nights. Going to graduate a great group of kids. I've never had this many in one class due to numbers.
10.
We got 9.
No.
9, yeah. 9 seniors, and the most of it probably ever had is like 4. That I can remember. So 9 seniors is really going to hurt a lot of people if they don't win tonight. So you always remember your senior night and your last game, and so we feel like after a couple losses we've had here on the back end of our schedule, I expect the girls to play with more urgency. That's a key word that we've been preaching on, is they don't understand playing hard from the get-go may help you in the fourth quarter and just building a little lead that, just for confidence sake. Everybody that we've been playing, when they get up on us, it seems like the goal gets bigger, and every time they shoot it, it's going to go in. It's just human nature. You take that pressure off when you got a little lead. And so I would like to see us come out with urgency and play like it could be their last game, because it could be their last game.
It's a different conversation than I had with Coach Hosey, because with Coach Hosey, he's locked into either that 3 or 4 seed where you host that first round game in districts. You're locked into either the 1 or 2 where you have that bye and you're playing exclusively at Westridge, and that region game isn't. You're locked into the regions, but that region home game isn't. It isn't guaranteed. So this really
get to the finals,
right. So this truly could be their last game on their home court.
Yeah.
And then moving into tomorrow night, you've got Chucky Doak, another big one, because it'll come down to the final game. You, of course, want to clinch first place earlier in the season, and you've got the opportunity to do it here in the final game of the regular season, because if you were able to win, you get first place in the regular season championship. If you were to lose, and then Johnson County, I believe, if Unicoi wins, then it would be a 3-way tie and a split for the regular season championship. But as you mentioned, with the tiebreaker scenarios, you'd finish no lower than second. But a lot is at stake on Friday night as you go to Chucky Doak. So talk to me about that game a little bit.
Yeah, you want to win your district, just for bragging rights and for confidence. So I'd hate to share the title with 2 other teams. And it's also teams that we have split with. So, we beat Johnson County and Unicoi in tough games at home, and then we've lost on the road. So, anytime somebody can beat you, you want to try to eliminate playing them as long as you can. And so we kind of control our destiny having to go to Chucky Doak. But once again, we control our destiny up at Johnson County. And so anything can happen when you're playing on the road. But it would be sweet to say we finished first.
And I hope there's not a 3-way tie either, because if there's a 3-way tie, I do think there needs to be something done within the way that the tiebreakers are enforced, because I don't think it's fair for it to come down to a blind draw at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. But that's something that we saw 2 years ago in the boys. You had South Greene, Hampton, and Chucky Doak all tie for first place, and if you were able to lose Friday night, then you would have another 3-way tie that would come down to a tiebreaker. It would benefit you in a sense, because you would get that top 2 and have that bye into regions. But if you're Unicoi County on a potential 7-game winning streak, and then you tie for first but have to play a play-in game to get into the tournament, it's a conversation that I think needs to be had. We've talked about it off camera too, but I don't know if there's a way to really change it, what needs to be done, because if it's a true split like this where all 3 teams are 1-1 against each other, then it sucks if you're that team that it has to come down to a blind draw.
Yeah, and I had worked really hard on that 2 or 3 years ago on coming up with a formula. and the league didn't all agree on it, didn't vote it. So my formula was pretty, what I can remember, is pretty cut and dry. It's basically, how'd you do head to head? Did you beat anybody above you? But if those don't win out, coin toss is terrible.
I agree.
I think it needs to be on the work of the season, just district games. Okay, cap it off so you're not trying to beat somebody bad enough to embarrass them. So cap it off at 15 points. So if you beat somebody by 30, you're only going to get plus 15. Okay, so margin of victory in those three teams that tie for first. Okay, what's the difference? And also, value the other coin, the other side of the ball. Okay, let's do in conference
points per game.
Points per game, and then, and I had it all written out. It was a big. I mean, like I said, it was hours of work laying it out to where the numbers would be so infinitely, dispersed that you're hardly ever going to get someone to come up with like a 48.237, So it would have worked, and I would feel like, okay, you got to deal with injuries, sickness, kids missing. So over the season, this could happen. Maybe this player's out for your team. This player missed 2 games for mono or whatever. But at the end of the day, it would have valued both offense and defense. And then I could live with that a little better than, maybe a coin toss. Now I'm stuck. 2 of the best 3 teams are going to play each other. And maybe that one lucky player got the 1 seed, but doesn't really determine who the best team is overall on both sides of the ball, night in and night out, over a 10-game stretch in the conference.
The blind draw is what? Is that the third or the second tiebreaker in your system?
It's third. So
third.
It's how did you do head to head?
And then did you beat anybody higher than you?
Yeah, and then the coin toss.
That needs to be 6th, 7th, or 8th in a tiebreaker.
I tried to speak reason, but some people didn't really understand it, and I printed them off and showed it to them, and so.
We'll present it again next year.
Yeah, possibly.
Because I think it does, and you might get some people on board too if this does come into a 3-way tie scenario and a certain school ends up going on a huge winning streak and still gets third. So I think there would be people to get on board with you on that, but I don't think a tiebreaker needs to be the third in line. But fortunately for you, you are in the driver's seat. You have that opportunity to control your own destiny, go into Friday night against Chuckey Doak and win, and you get that 1 seed and that regular season championship. So I know you feel a little more comfortable knowing that you control your own destiny in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's still nerve-wracking because you see your kids at their worst, but
it's a little extra added motivation for Chuckey Doak.
It's motivation for Chuckey Doak, and it's a home game. It's a county rival, but it's really big for us because, like you said, Unicoi started out 0-3 in the conference, and then they reeled off 7 straight. So you don't want to see them until the finals if you can help it. So if we were to lose Chuckey Doak, we could possibly be playing Unicoi in the semifinals. So
you don't want that. I don't know who you would rather want, but I would not want to play the team that's won 7 in a row.
I would rather Johnson County Unicoi be playing in the semis.
And then you get that 1. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's ideal, but. Yeah, spoke about it enough. I don't think a random tiebreaker needs to be third in line, but nothing I can do about it. I can just speak my opinion on it. But that's what we've got. Senior night tonight. If you've got the opportunity and you see this before senior night, come out and support the Lady Rebels as they take on Crockett. And then you've got Chuckey Doak tomorrow night on the road, and I know everybody will be out there because it'll be a packed house and a loud environment for one of the best rivalries in Greene County contested between the Lady Rebels and the Lady Black Knights. But unless there's anything else you've got to add, I believe that's it.
All right.
You got JV girls?
Yep.
Got JV girls soon then.
Yep.
All right. Get it done.
All right.
Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Steve and Gregg Show. We look forward to seeing you next time here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.